Hey everyone, this is Bill McDonald, the Reading and Writing Doctor. Welcome to CREST Online Training, Part 1 Editing, Lesson 12, Open-Ended Punctuation. And this is going to be a 5-minute challenge where we do a Dear Doc activity, daily editing and reading revising of doc development, organization, and conventions. If you're working on content, it's the organization of the response or the development, the depth. If you're working on conventions, it's the grammar. So improving the content, part 2, is editing the organization and development by adding, removing, replacing, or moving things. If you're working on the convention, improving the conventions, you're working on the grammar with cups, capitalization, usage, punctuation, spelling, and sentence boundaries, where we work on run-ons and fragments. So in today's lesson, we're going to do a 5-minute challenge where you can have a sponge activity, or it can be part of a grade where you test your students' ability, but in a timed test. Life is an open-ended world until you get in classrooms where it becomes multiple choice. That's why the state's trying to get away from that, so that we can learn how to answer questions in an open-ended way. And one of the ways to answer is a string of text, a number, a word, or a phrase. And so in an open-ended way, I want to practice that. For those of you who have the folders, it's the second box in the constructed 1 and 2 point questions list. So what I want you to do is go to page 162 of the binder, and you'll see that this one has to do with punctuation. There's the Dear Doc. And so what are we working on today? We're working on the editing of conventions, one portion. And just so you know, on the extended essay, you're going to get 2 editing passages. If you're a reading teacher, in April, supposedly, and you're going to get 2 revising passages. So they're not just going to say comprehend the content, they're going to ask you to improve the content. So it's like the emergency room of editing and revising. So if I haven't built a foundation by scaffolding writing in a way where I can go from letters to words to phrases to sentences to paragraphs to passages to essays, then I might not have an understanding, because what's going to happen is if you're just assigning essays, extended responses, or short answer, what's going to happen is the organization might be okay. They might answer the question. They might be able to tell you which part of the passage, which scene, which stanza, which paragraph, which sentence, which line. But even if they can develop it, if the conventions are bad, doc without the C spells doo-doo. Those essays will basically look like doo-doo. And because the extended essay will be worth 3 points from each reader on how organized and developed it is, and 2 points for each reader according to the conventions, then 40% because 2 out of the 5 is conventions for the first reader, and 2 out of 5 is the conventions for the second reader. That's 4 out of 10. 40% of the grade is going to be how strong are the conventions in this response. And it's possible that because the conventions are so poor that it makes your essay I indecipherable or I illegible, even if there is some sort of development or organization, it's possible that your students could get 0 total points on conventions, organization, and development, answering the question, giving textual evidence, explaining it, because they couldn't even understand what your students were writing. Because even in typing, if you don't know how to spell, if you don't know how to put spaces and capitalization, if it makes it so hard to comprehend what the student's doing, what they were trying to tell you, the readers are going to have to give that a 0. So basically, the rubrics are going to be focused on those 3 areas. So I say we practice those 3 areas. So what I'm going to do is, either as a sponge activity or I want to give a grade, I'm going to say, I'm going to give you 5 minutes, 300 seconds, because the editing questions specifically are only going to ask your students to correct or change 1 sentence. They're not going to be having to look at a whole passage. So they might only ask them about 3 sentences in the first passage and 3 sentences in the other one. So if I've got 60 sentences or 50 or 40 or 30, you want to zoom in on the ones they're asking about for editing, because we don't have a lot of time. So here's my open-ended. It's going to be the 5-finger response, which means I'm going to set my timer to 5 minutes, and I only want to know what's wrong. And in these sentences that were written by actual students in Texas over the years, I don't want you to write the whole sentence. I'm not practicing typing right now. I'm just practicing punctuation. You can see it's right there. Open-ended punctuation. So once we start the timer, I'm going to see how far I can go in 5 minutes, and then I'm going to stop. And based on however many mistakes, I'm going to see if I did 10 only and I got 9 out of those 10 correct, then 9 divided by 10 is 90, 9/10 of the grade. So you can just grade the percentage of the quantity that we're able to do. How many mistakes were they able to get to, and how many of the mistakes were they able to fix in that time limit that you gave them. So I'm going to set my timer. I'm going to be doing text computer typing response. And once I start, I'm not going to stop until my timer goes off. I'll read the sentence. I'm going to see the sentence. I'm going to say it loudly. If I see capitalization or punctuation with my free hand, this is my left hand, I'm going to do the kinesthetic things while I say what type of cups thing that I'm seeing, and I'll be tracking with my mouse. So my mouse by my hand, my mouth, and my eyes will be moving. Winners move 3 things: their eyes, their mouse, and their mouth. So I've got myself ready. At the beginning of each number, I'm going to be extending the line very quickly so that I'll have room to write it, and then I'll move it in position. And I'm going to read it out loud, and I want you to notice something here that it says, what change? And if you look at the English Language Arts folder, it says in my directions, underline change and label cups. If you put a bracket, I'm going to go to the sentence that's in the passage or the selection, and 90% of the time, 99 probably, the mistake that we're going to see is just a mistake of capitalization, usage, punctuation, or spelling. It won't be a sentence boundary, that second S that's on your folders. It won't be a run-on or a fragment unless the question says the word correct. What is the correct, or what is the best way to write a sentence, singular, or sentences, plural? So hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to get myself in position, extend my space so that you can see what I'm doing, hear what I'm doing. All right, here we go. Capital. Oh, set my timer, 5 minutes. Here we go. Capital. My mom said, comma, quotation, capital. Your. I need a UR, so I need a contraction. Running the right speed, and I was very happy to hear that exclamation. I can see that they had someone talking. They had a contraction missing. It was a coordinating conjunction, so I need a comma to go before the fanboy. And once I'm done talking, if you think of dialogue as opening and closing quotations, then it's the opening dimples and the closing dimples. So let me just fix the mistakes that are wrong. Your, at the end of the first independent clause, speed, comma, space, and. I was very happy to hear that. Exclamation, quotation, the closing dimples because you're done talking. So that was number one. Number two, capital, Kimberly. I'm addressing somebody. I need a comma right there. You are up first, comma. No, I don't need a slow down sign. I need a stop sign there because I was having a complete thought. Are you ready? Quotation marks, question mark. If I look carefully right here, I'm not, let me see if I can spotlight this for you. I'm not asking quotation. I'm asking, are you ready? So in this case, the quotation mark has to be outside the question mark, so that the question that's being asked is connected to the stop sign that goes with it. So let me get my text ready, and then I'll move it in position so I'll make sure I can see it. It said, and we're talking to Kimberly. Kimberly, comma, you are up first, period, capital, space, 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 capital, are you ready? And so once I'm done talking to Kimberly, I would put the quotation mark because I was asking her something, and then the closing quotations, and that's what that would look like. And then I'll go ahead and put it in place so that it's all resting on the line like it's supposed to. Got a minute left, so I'll be able to probably do one more in my 5-minute time limit. Text. Number 3, capital. My parents, plural, tell me to give it a try, but comma. The comma comes before the fanboys. So I'm going to put the comma before the but. It would be like saying if that's your real but, you're saying that's okay to have your belt after the but. No, that's not appropriate address. You put the belt, then you put your but. Capital I don't, do not really want to do it. So the only mistake I see here is that the but is in the wrong place, comma. Well, let me look at it first. Put the try. My parents tell me to give it a try, comma, space, but, space. Then you have your other independent clause. So there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, if you want to call it that. 8 mistakes that I fixed in that 5-minute time limit. So 8 out of 8 would be 100%. As your skills, your understanding of seeing and saying, hearing, listening, thinking, doing increase, you're going to be able to do more and more in that 5-minute time limit. So it could be a sponge activity, or it could be an actual test. If you've already taught all the punctuation rules, test what you teach, comma, and teach what you test. Don't assign punctuation if you haven't taught punctuation. So whoever's telling you, don't teach grammar in isolation, is not sending you in the right direction in terms of helping the kids improve on their grammar skills. I've never been taught how to start a sentence with a capital, how to have subject verb agreement called usage, how to have a punctuation mark at the end, how to put commas, apostrophes, and contractions and quotation marks where they go in the middle, and how to make sure the words are spelled right by looking it up in my brain or the online dictionary or a paper dictionary, then we're going to be really struggling. So yes, if I need that skill, then my prescription as a teacher is going to be teach that skill to your students so that they can improve by the time they get to the 2 editing questions at the end. That could possibly be 6 questions per grade level. That's just a guesstimate right now. They haven't given us the exact numbers as far as I know. And then I can get up to 40% and technically more than that, because if my conventions in my answer, my evidence, and my explanation is indecipherable, I could possibly lose some, most, or all of the 6 organization and development points. So conventions are powerful because without the C of doc, we have do. The 2 readers are reading development and organization with no conventions. It's like making the reader eat poop. Sorry for the inappropriateness. And they're not going to give as high a grade as they would because they have to have a balancing act. They have to look holistically at the response to see how well are they doing in the overall response of the organization of answering the question, giving the evidence, telling me where it is, the development of the response, the depth, the quantity of details that explain and express how all of these sentences tie together and how my central or controlling idea or thesis tie in to the topic called the cue, the question. So share this video with some of your teacher friends. There are, for those of you that are asking or thinking, how many pages of that? Well, I have about 10 to 12 pages of just punctuation with about 10 sentences each. And maybe the next time I might be able to get 6 out of the 10 and 7. I only gave 5 minutes to do the assignment, but speed kills on the road, the street, and in the sentence. If I go too fast, I'll have quantity with no quality. I'd rather have them do 3 or 4 sentences well than try to do all 9 or 10 sentences poorly. So that's my suggestion on like a 5-minute drill. It's pages 162 to about 173 or 74, because the second portion, the last part, is going to be don't just work on the punctuation. Look for some sentence boundary problems in the punctuation where there are too many words, too many cars on the street without a stop sign, or there's not enough words on the street where they're putting stop signs in the middle of a thought that you only get to see the subject or something about it, and then there's a period, or there's only a predicate and something about how or where or when, and then a period. We'll be working on that, but I first want to show you a multiple choice punctuation in lesson 13. In our next video, we're going to be looking at the most difficult questions in all grade levels that were punctuation related, so we can see what was it that the kids struggled with so much as part of our CREST online training, and how can I help the students fix that issue? How can I fill in those gaps and holes based on the 2019 or 2021 tests in punctuation? Because I basically analyzed the 4th, 7th, 9th, and 10th grade tests where they gave them editing questions. And for those of you who are in 9th or 10th grade, you're still going to get 9 editing and 9 revising, 2 passages each. You guys from 3rd through 10th grade next April, if it's going to be April, are going to get 2 passages each of editing and revising. So we need, that's why part 1 and part 2 are on the editing and revising, because I want to be able to work on letters, words, phrases, sentences, and paragraphs before I try to work on entire passages and essays. The PE is the highest level. Let's scaffold by working from where the kids are at and then building up from there. Don't try to, as you might have seen in my post yesterday, don't try to pour content and curriculum into a colander and expect it to stay there if the kids have too many gaps and holes. Let's fill in those gaps and holes so that the strengths of their conventions can support the strength of the way they answer your questions, show you where the answers are at in short answer, and even develop the response in an extended essay. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. My challenge for you is to go to the next page, 163, set your timer in your phone for 5 minutes, and see how many mistakes that you can fix. If you want to print out page 163 and just do it with traditional a paper, a pencil, and a pen, perfect. But if you want to do a PC, your own personal computer, or an SC, your school computer, and type your responses online like I did, perfect. Just practice and get good at both. Don't isolate just to online, because we still do live in a paper, pencil, and pen world. Don't throw away the baby with the bathwater. We've got to excel on both spectrums of online and paper, pencil, and pen. So those are just some thoughts for you. Have a blessed day. Share this with one of your reading or writing teacher friends. If I come to your school because of you, or your district, or any other school or any other district, I have a $100 finder's fee if you're a teacher who has no control over money. And I'll give you that $100 for each day that I come to that campus to share my reading, writing, math, how to do science and social studies, biology, in a constructed response type world where the questions are going to be worth 1 or 2 points, because everybody's going to get at least 25% open-ended / constructed response questions if you're a tested grade. So something to think about from Bill McDonald.